You are listening to Teenager 0's podcast. Chill lah! Welcome back to Teenager 0's podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode. And make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to not miss out any of the contents, or just follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I update there when I'm almost uploading a new video or even a highlight. Anyways, for today, let's talk about teachers. Oh, before that, since you will be listening this podcast tomorrow, yes, I'm basically recording this podcast on a Saturday, a day before I have to upload it. But anyways, a happy Deepawali to those who are celebrating it. For those who don't know, Deepawali is actually an Indian festival celebration. It's like the celebration is used to, if I'm not wrong, it's like to celebrate, like it's called the light festival. And if you don't know how Deepavali looks like, basically there will be people who are decorating beautiful patterns using rice or like rice powder, or even and just people selling Indian snacks, which is delightful. I absolutely love Indian snacks like muruku, and like I can't wait to go to an open house. So that's all. Anyway, so let's talk about teachers. Since I'm also working as a teacher, I teach English, FYI. Since I'm good in it and I need money, so yeah, I basically have the best of both worlds, you could say, since I'm part-time student yet I'm part-time teacher. But for today's episode, I'm just going to talk about a few teachers, I guess, that I have quite a good memory in. I know sorry, my voice isn't that good. It isn't in the best condition today, but hey. Anyways, there are a few kinds of teachers. That's all I know, since everybody has their own teaching style and those. And because of, different teaching styles, it gives you different impressions. There are like the annoying type teacher, there are the old school teachers, there are the interesting teachers, the teachers who thinks they're young, and those types. And I've seen pretty much a diversity of teaching styles until now. Of course, as a student, I can proudly say that I skipped class before. I remember clearly that the first time I ever skipped class was during primary school. Oh gosh. I have a blurry memory of what really happened during that day, but I remember I skipped class. It wasn't skipping, it was kind of like ditching class, because I was in class like halfway until I suddenly had to ditch it. But I remember it was our Malay class, because our cikgu, which is teacher in Malay, let's call my cikgu chill, because he's really chill. So basically, I think, I don't know, I just remember like the whole class, they were suddenly talking about, hey, XXX is kissing Y in the class below us. I don't know what the hell goes on, but that happened to, I happened to heard it, and I just want to check it out, because we primary school students who are going through puberty, and a curiosity level is basically off the limit. We just wanted to see how a kiss looked like in real life. Although I bet everyone in my class watched High School Musical or any romantic movies back then. But hey, the feeling's different. For those of you who are wondering, primary school is basically elementary school in the American system. Because in Malaysia, we're using the British system. So primary school. So as I said, my teacher, Cikgu Chill, he's really chill and laid back. And To be honest, I don't know if he noticed a few of his students went missing. Before I explain how I ditched class, I would like to talk about where our class was located by then. Okay, so the incident was happening in a class right below ours. And if you go out through the back door, there's like the stairs to heaven. Not heaven. I mean the stairs to, go down, go up. So yeah, you can guess it. Me and a few of our classmates, we just sneak out by using the back door. But now that I think we were absolutely obvious by then, because even if like I imagine I was like teacher Cikgu Chill, I could like easily spot a couple of, I don't know, birds peeking out or just people crawling out of the classroom in like what, in daylight. But what happened after we sneaked out was that we, everybody, those gossip, those who like to gossip, arrive at the classroom below us, and we all just spied from the front door of the empty classroom. And from the dark, empty classroom, with the sunlight shining in from the windows, you could see inside two blooming lovers sitting at the back row, on the floor, holding hands. But in the end, the couple broke up anyways. So, well, I mean, I don't know when did they broke up, but yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't witness the legendary kiss, but I'm really sure why we did that in the past. uh, by that time, I think I was 11. Yeah, I think I was 10 or 11 by doing my first ever teaching class. Also, maybe some of you would think, what kind of school did I attend where students bloom in love or even skip classes? Such a bad school. Well, I can't say the name, of course. I mean, because they're going to sue me anyways, but no. But I must say that it's a high performance school. Yeah, I think that's what it is, because in Mandarin it's like 高表现学校. So if you direct translate it, it's like, yeah, high performance school. And it's even known to be like the model school. Like parents who want their kids to be in this primary school. But actually, now that I think of it, I'm not so sure about these titles that schools have. Like, even when I was young, when I look back and I just see those titles, I'm like, really? Because those titles, I think it's just to raise people's expectations for us. Like, sending your kids to this school maybe makes our kids to be prestigious students or like behave. But hey, parents, students are still students, alright? We can do bad stuff if we are not under control, and hey, we also have this period called rebellious. Anyways, back to Cikgu Chill. He was the first person also to tell us about polygamy. For those of you who don't know polygamy, it basically means a person who marries more than one. And in our country, it's actually practiced among like the Muslims, because if you're a male and you're Muslim, you're actually allowed to marry more than one woman. So yeah, it's actually practiced in our country, since there are the national the national religion, yeah, it's Muslim. So he told us that he has multiple wives, and we were like, what? I don't know if he still does, but yeah, it was shocking to us. Like, I remember, I think it was because we asked about his rings, and he just told us that I don't know, he has 4 wives. I think that's how many he has. But yeah, we were like, really? You get to marry more than one? I think by then my male classmates kind of, had a spark in their eyes. Anyways, that's from my Malay teacher. I think he was probably the chilliest. You know, the laid back type teacher. Yeah, that's him. I don't think I have a clear memory about what happens during primary school or even like a kindergarten, because I just remember those that impacted me a lot. Like I remember that one time I actually got stuck in a cubicle in my primary school's toilet. I remember just banging on the door, screaming for help. Until I don't know what happened, I keep messing with the lock until it unlocked itself. Anyways, coming to secondary school, I think secondary school is like the turning point for me. It was because in secondary school I got in touch with like that was when I got in touch with K-pop. I got in touch with YouTube. I That's when I know about, you know, PewDiePie, like Markiplier and all those. So yeah, that was when I got to know about YouTube. And yeah, that was when I found out that I really like to do creative writing. Yeah, so it basically it's kind of like a turning point that made me realize my interest. So yeah, but while I was scripting this, I thought for a long time because to the teachers, I'm so sorry for the teachers that taught me during secondary school. But yeah, I kind of have a blurry memory about you guys. Anyways, for secondary school, it's basically middle school and high school combined. Yeah, that's our secondary school. And also that applies to all Malaysian secondary school, by the way. And I don't think I skipped class before. That's one. Um, unless any of you who are listening, you were my schoolmate and remember that I happened to skip class, please, you know, hit me up. Anyways, for my primary school and secondary school, I actually followed my sister's footsteps. When it comes to secondary school, it actually depends on your results in the UPSR, which is kind of like an entrance exam, yeah, and where your siblings went. Since I got pretty good results and my sisters went to this secondary school, so yeah, I got in easily. My secondary school was actually also known for being high quality in terms of schools, and yeah, a lot of parents wanted their kids to go there as well. But hey, students are students. Anyways, in secondary school there was this discipline teacher, and if I were to, you know, categorize in which type of teacher she was, I would say she's the loud type. Because when I first enrolled into the school, I think a lot of I think newcomers like me, they would probably had the same first impression about this discipline teacher, because my first impression of her was just fierce. Like she was like the reincarnation of a lion. Like she was loud. But in the end, when you get to, you know her, you get to you're like taught by her. She's actually a really nice teacher. So anyways, before I say how loud she could get, let's talk about the geographic of my school's compound. So basically there's like 3 blocks. Yeah, 3 blocks in total. So I always had my classes going on at the last block, which is the block towards your right when you walked into my school. So yeah, how loud was that discipline teacher? There was one time where we basically was just, you know, we were just waiting for our next class, and then suddenly there was this just a loud screaming, like she was shouting someone's name, and it echoed, like we could even hear it from the last block, and like from the volume you could know that she's like from the she was shouting from the previous blocks. So yeah, that's how loud she was. And even during assemblies, she actually she doesn't actually require a microphone too. So yeah, but she's really nice, even though she's really loud. She still really cares about like her students, and yeah, I really like her in the end. Wait, speaking about discipline, now I know. Okay, so I realized why I never skipped school before, because we had this disciplinary mark system. Yeah, so we had this disciplinary mark system. I forgot what we called them, but yeah, basically when you enroll into my school, I don't know if it applies to the others, but if you enroll to my school, you will have 100 marks to start off, and based on which school rule that you broke, they deduct your marks. And because of that system, it kind of kept most of us in our seats during class. Also, speaking of which, remember when I told you guys that I work part-time as a teacher? Yeah, so my boss, she's basically my ex-teacher in that tuition center. So yeah, I attended that tuition center since I was primary school, and then I also joined in during secondary school, and yeah, I graduated from there as well. So I knew her for quite a while, and she was in my heart, she was one of the greatest teachers that ever taught me. Like, she's encyclopedia. She knows about a lot of things, that's what I could tell. And yeah, I know, like, some of you guys will be like, oh, it's normal for a student to think that her teacher knows a lot. But no, she really knows a lot. Like, when it comes to from 5, she actually she talked to us about like the politics status and like history of like other countries, and like just a lot of things. Like, she experienced a lot. And because in Malaysia, we actually learn about Malaysian history only. We don't learn like history of China, history of England or something like that. No, we don't get to learn it, but we had to learn about the Malaysia history only. And because of that, we're actually kind of clueless what other countries histories are. Therefore, whenever I go to her class, she actually like explained to us some of the countries, and was like, so how did this word came. So yeah, she was basically encyclopedia for me. And now she's my boss, which is great. At least I know I'm in good hands anyways. So since I'm in university now, no doubt there are a few lecturers that gave me great impressions. So I'm just going to exclude the lecturers that I mentioned before in my podcast, which was my introduction to psychology lecturer, although he's the second one. So yeah, let's just exclude him. Our first candidate is, of course, my marketing lecturer. So I took marketing during my first semester. Yeah, so I took marketing during my first semester, and there was apparently the lecturer who was going to teach us was me. We were just going to, what should we call her? We were just going to call her what? Yeah, we're just going to call her City. So yeah, so Miss City, yep, that's what we're going to call her. Yep. Alright, so my marketing lecturer, we're just going to call Miss City. She came in, and we were like, wow, that's a beauty right there. She was very beautiful. Like, when she came in, I was like, okay, wow, we are going to have this beautiful teacher. Alright, I'm up. Anyway, so when she spoke, she possessed a great English pronunciation, and her accent was on point as well. And we happen to know that her parents, they're actually from America. I think they're like Malaysians that went to America, but when they wanted to give birth to our beautiful lecturer. They came back to Malaysia in the end. So yeah, that's why I think, and she went to a lot of places, so that's how she kind of possessed such a great English accent. But yeah, and she worked a lot in a lot of places despite her age. Like, she looked really young, and she told us that she worked for big companies in like several countries, and she like took on like projects that worth like millions and millions of dollars. And so we're like, okay, you're this young, okay, and you work for these companies. She's like, yeah. And then right off the bat, like during our first lecture, she just told us everything about her. Not everything, but like uh some common questions that we wanted to ask about her. And she told us that she actually has 2 children, and we're like, what? Because like, if you like if you take a look at her, she doesn't look like a mom. That's why she's really young and like really beautiful. So yeah, she's a really talented lecturer, and I am going to put her in the category of an interesting lecturer. Yes, the interesting type, the one who talks a lot. Yeah, that's her. So during every lecture, she actually talks about her own life story, because when she talks about the story, it kind of like relate it to the topic, or she just happened to thought of this topic and just talk about it. And there was this one time when she talked about her pregnancy period, when she was pregnant with her children. She, as you guys know, pregnant women tend to have a craving of a certain food, right? And before I tell you her craving, let me just say that she's a Malay, she's Muslim, alright? And she's Malaysian, basically. So yeah, these 3 things, right? And her craving during pregnancy, out of, I don't know, thousands of foods out there, she craved for bacon. I remember when she told us, we were like, oh gosh. Like, wow, imagine that. Imagine that craving, like you couldn't eat that forbidden fruit. Anyways, yeah, that was her craving. But she was like, she was like, so you think that mine was bad? Oh no, you don't. You better listen to what my neighbor crave for. And apparently her neighbor happened to be pregnant as well. Her neighbor crave for tar. Yes, TAR, which is those road, like road, those stones. Yeah, she crave for those. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh gosh, please don't. After listening to that story, I was like, oh gosh, please don't let me crave for anything weird if I happen to get pregnant. I remember she even said that because her neighbor like crave for the tar, her husband actually went to the road and like pick up a stone for her to, like, I don't know. I don't, she didn't eat it, of course, but like lick it, I think. I'm like, okay. Anyways, marketing was quite a fun lecture, since we get to learn about how you could market yourself. I remember when we first talked to her, she found out that I didn't have an English name, because by that time I didn't really like people calling me Angel, because it sounds so, like, oh my god, you're an angel from heaven. I'm like, oh. So anyways, so when I told my marketing lecturer my name, she was like, you should find a name, you have to brand yourself. I'm like, okay. And speaking about English names, when she told me about that, branding yourself, I actually suddenly thought of a nickname that I had during secondary school. So during secondary school, I happened to be known by my classmates since I volunteered myself to become the class monitor or like the class president. I don't know what you guys call it, but yeah, the monitor of our class. And because of that, they happened to know my full name, which is I won't say it, but my surname is actually Teoh, Teo. So since they couldn't remember like the Malays or like Indians, they can't really remember my Chinese name. They just started calling me Teo, which is just my surname, Toh. So what happened was I had this nickname called Teo. And for those of you who don't know, Malaysia, we have this beverage which is spelled TEH-O. Yeah. So they basically took my OH and just reversed them. I mean, flip them. Yeah, something like that. To become TEH and then Teo. Yeah. That's how I got the nickname Teo. And then they just keep teasing me, saying what Teo Ice Limau and stuff. Yeah, basically it's a drink in Malaysia. And it's absolutely delicious. Yeah. You guys should try it if you happen to come to Malaysia. So yeah, that was my nickname, but I don't want it to, I don't want everybody to call me Teo as well, so let's just drop it. And that was actually one of the reasons why I called my channel name Tea Angel. It's because yeah, the tea from Teo. Teo is actually the beverage. That is tea in Malay. Yeah, so Teo. So I'm like, okay, why not I just put tea. And then Angel, which is, my English name, Angel. It's not an English name. I'm not Christian. I'm like, what is it? It's a nickname by my sister. So yeah, Angel. That's how you got the Angel. Anyways, back to our teachers. Another candidate is my law tutor. And I swear, I will put him into the category between annoying and old school. Yup. And I'm not afraid to say it. We're just going to call him Mr. Perfect. Not because he's OCD or anything, but he really expects his class to be perfect, like the perfect class in the world. So just to clear, before I met Mr. Perfect, the first time I heard of him is from my lecturer, my law lecturer. Yeah, I took law. I took a lot of things, but yeah. So I took law and I heard him for the first time from my law lecturer. And I quote, Mr. Perfect may be a little old-fashioned, but he has taught for 30 years. That was what my lecturer said, and I'm like, okay, I just know that he'll be old and everything should be fine. And no, it's not. When I go to my law tutorials, Mr. Perfect will be there to teach us etiquette, how we should behave in class, and yeah, I absolutely appreciate that. But soon enough why his expectations are quite a bit of a problem. So let's talk about how to be the perfect student by our Mr. Perfect. First, remember to always greet your tutor or lecturer when you walk into the class. Ask about his weekend. What did he do? Did he eat his lunch or dinner or breakfast? If you just came back from a term break or holiday, ask how was his holiday and such. I'm like, okay. Secondly, always respond to your lecturer or tutor's questions or statements and do not argue back when you're right. Always say sorry when he claims that you've done something wrong. Also, always be better than the previous class. And finally, prepare yourself before you go to class. Cram yourself with tons of general knowledge, especially about Malaysia history and any worldwide statistics. get ready with the answers for the tutorial questions. Yeah, I mean, he's right in terms of, preparing yourself before you go to class, or like responding to his questions. But I just couldn't stand the comparison he made, like, and him not wanting to acknowledge our answers. Like, unless you find your class is filled with competitive people, like those anime protagonists that fights to be number one, then yeah, sure, go ahead and compare. But why compare that? Why compare that much? Like, in my experience, I don't think by comparing people, it doesn't necessarily bring out the optimum results, since everyone is different. And by doing comparison, who is better and who is worse, it might just make it just makes the situation worse by making your students either hate the subject, or just you, or even both. Anyways, of course there are pros in terms of comparing, or else there won't be the ranking system in exams. But hey, if you want to keep comparing us with the previous class, then as far as I could see, it didn't really bring out the expectation that my tutor actually wants. And one critical aspect of our class that I never told you guys is that our class is filled with people who tend to be quiet in class. Like, the extroverts are already in the previous class, so yeah. Thus nobody actually responds to him when he asks something, since, we're quiet. I mean, he either compares our answer by saying it's not good as the previous class, or he just laughs it off. And in return of not responding, he would nag us, and I quote, "You all didn't meet my expectations." But also, another point to say is that, yes, you should greet your lecturer or tutor. Yes, that's a very basic etiquette to have. But to me, I don't think it's really necessary to like ask about what he ate, what he did during those, because it's just too much. Even if like my students suddenly ask me, I will be like, "Are you okay?" But anyways, yeah, that's his expectations on us, and it was basically a hard time just trying to pass that one semester. I don't know about you guys, but in my university, substitute lecturers are quite common, as my lecturers are people who, fly here, fly there, attending events. But during my first semester, I took human physiology, and there were a few times when the original lecturer went missing. The original lecturer, let's just call him, what should we call him? He's really cool, so we're going to call him Dr. Cool. Yeah. And a substitute came in, yeah, when he's gone, when Dr. Cool is gone. So there are these two substitutes that always came in. It's either of them. We're just going to call them Mr. Boring and Mr. More Boring. Why did I call them that? You'll find out soon enough. Whenever I went to class, I kept praying, like hoping that it wouldn't be them, because I can't stand the way they teach. As the both of them, the two substitutes, they actually have doctoral, in human physiology, I think. Like, they have the word doctor in front of their name, so yeah. I don't think they're yet that experienced when it comes to teaching though, because when they teach, they just read from the slides. And yeah, if you guys know, reading if a lecturer reads in like a monotone, you guys would know how boring it would be. Therefore, if it's like one of them actually comes in, you could see some students started to exit from the lecture theatre. Or like, because our lectures, they're like 2 hours long, so there will always be a break after like an hour teaching. There will always be like a 5 minutes, 10 minutes break. And yeah, between like 5 minutes and 10 minutes after that 5 minutes break, you could see a like decline in the number of students. I feel so sorry for them, but Mr. Boring did amp up his teaching methods when Dr. Koo was there to attend the lecture as well. Therefore, I name him as Mr. Boring instead of Mr. More Boring. But I still think Dr. Koo was way better. The reason why I think Dr. Koo or even like my law lecturer were better is because they actually relate teaching topics to our daily life stuffs. For example, like law, we actually get to relate it, since in law lectures we actually talk about the common issues like society is facing, like the LGBT issues, like the definition of law, like does the law control us, regulate us, or do we change the law, and etc. And they actually relate these topics by our daily life stuffs. This also applies to human physiology. There was one time when our Dr. Koo actually had had a heart attack, yeah, when he was outstation, and he actually showed us his I think it was an x-ray of like his heart, like what happened to his heart, and he taught us like how to differentiate like how his blood vessel was clotted and such. And it was really cool to get to learn this stuff. And in human physiology, because it's just like learning about the functions of our body, so we get to learn it by just relating to daily life stuff, like when we scrape ourselves, there will be inflammation and blah 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 blah. So yeah. Also, my lecturers, they actually do jokes as well, which further makes the class more interesting, of course. They make but I can't do these jokes in my channel, I guess, because they're 18 above. But yeah, it was they were fantastic in a way. I remember there was one time Dr. Koo suddenly said meme. We just burst out laughing because we're like, what meme? And then he was like, meme. Meme. But yeah, they were like really fantastic lectures. Also, which includes our Miss City as well. Yeah. But yes, as you could see, being a teacher is extremely difficult. Even when I'm doing this part-time, I really, sometimes there are times where like I think this job is really difficult, because you have to make the lessons interesting, and you have to let your students to be interested in this subject that you're teaching as well. And a way to do that is, of course, to understand like what your students might be interested in, or like the trends nowadays. You can also say this kind of used in like podcasters, YouTubers, as they relate nowadays trends into their topics to get your attention. Yeah, same concept. So yeah, there are times that when my students actually said something that even my boss didn't get it, but since I'm quite convenient with the technology and could catch up with the latest news, I get to relate with them. I remember there was one time my students suddenly asked me if I watched It Chapter 2. You guys know, right? Pennywise. Yeah. So I was like, I'm like, did you watch it? And they were like, no, you can't watch it. I'm like, okay, good. But still, there are, of course, most of the times while I'm teaching, I'm really happy that I get to experience the job. I really love teaching, because just being able to know this, like these pure human beings, and like just people who wanted to learn more, it's really fun to like getting to know. And in the same time we get to like exchange knowledge as well. And another fun part is that when your students pass their exams, damn, I was so happy. Anyways, yeah, that's all for today's podcast. If you liked it, you know what to do during the end credits. So yeah, see you guys at the next episode. Goodbye.